Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock or about 10:01 on Wednesday, November 15th. We're in the Holland Room at the Community Recognition Review Advisory Committee meeting. I want to call the meeting to order. First of all, and welcome the people who are both online as well as in person here today. The first is the land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands in which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize a special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of this land, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaty of 1923. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by Legislative Services? Diane, thank you. Seconder, move second. Welcome.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was late.
That's okay. Any questions or comments on the agenda before we proceed? Call vote on favor. Opposed? That carries. Super. Anyone have any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. The next is the minutes. Everyone has received the Community Recognition Review Advisory minutes of September 18th. Can I have a motion to receive the minute of that meeting? Yes. Fiona, question?
Just a question. Did I miss the part where you said if we're okay with the agenda?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
So, yes, am I able to go back to say I noticed in case I don't have the right agenda, the agenda is missing the conversation that was supposed to be brought up on this meeting about the diversity of the committee.
It is on. Sorry.
No, you can start. No. Through you, Mr. Chair. So that's item 7.2 is the memorandum from our Recreation Supervisor 2024 Community Recognition Awards nominee composition. And that entire report speaks to the discussion that was brought up under new business in September.
Understood. Thank you.
So it is on the agenda. Thanks. So we were in the middle of the approval of the minutes of September 18th. Can I get a motion to discuss this, please? Or motion to approve it? Diane, again. Okay. Any comments about the minutes of the last meeting? Seeing none, let's have a vote to approve the minute, receipt of minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations this morning, so we have a couple of matters for consideration. 7.1, which is a memorandum from the Recreation Supervisor Special Events regarding the 2024 Community Recognition Awards, in particular the Senior Volunteer Award. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor?
I'll move in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Shelley. Can you provide us with the introduction of this? And it was in the package that was sent out. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So based on the discussions at the last meeting, everything was taken into consideration. And staff did do a review of alike senior volunteer awards within a variety of other municipalities. And it does seem that we are consistently within the same loose mix. seniors inconsistently defined. Some of the points that committee members raised was very evident in all of them. So with the report that I prepared, I also provided some of the review that we saw in other municipalities. Based on that, but heavily weighted by the discussion, staff would like to propose that the current senior volunteer award be revised to an older adult award defined as 55 years of age or older, but to try to give it a bit more structure and to try to differentiate it a bit more so from the other awards. The description was slightly changed, but more so the nomination questions, which I think give it. So we could still have an older adult nominated that might still qualify for, say, the Arts and Culture Award, but I think I think this is just a bit more structured and a bit more clear. So that's what's being brought back to the committee, is A, to see whether you saw that you were listened to and whether we had provided a solution / answer to this. And then what the consensus is about changing the name of the award.
Any comments, questions?
I have a question. I wanted to make sure I understand this correctly, that you're recommending changing it to, so the recipient must volunteer in more than one category,
More than one field?
field?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that.
Thanks. Others? Looks like we're happy with the direction here then.
I specifically like changing it to older adult.
Yes.
I think that is a lot,
Respectful.
yeah, and it bridges that between senior and, yeah.
I find it that's just the opposite.
Really?
Yes. A lot of seniors don't like to be called older. And they know they are, but they don't like to be, referred that way. So that's, I see it two ways, because I've been out when people have sort of said, well, I'm not older, I'm just a senior.
Well, it is a sensitive topic, as you're pointing out.
Yeah.
Shelley, I think one of the people, or one of the places you went about this was to go to the senior center themselves. Did you have a comment on what they felt about the name?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I did go to our adult coordinator, Carrie Papillon, and had a lengthy discussion about this. Staff that do programming at the Aurora Senior Center uses the term older adult. And I asked if that would be her recommendation for this award, changing this over. And she was yes. So I didn't go further than that. And in fact, Carrie Papillon used to be the senior coordinator, and her job title even got changed to adult. Like, even her job didn't change, the title changed, moving towards the language of adult, and specifically with older adult with regards to this award. So she did feel it was the right move to make. So I didn't go to the board, I only went to her, looking at her more so as a subject matter expert to guide this.
Thank you. Hearing no more comments? Okay. Last time through?
Well, the only thing I see is because our senior center starts at 55. And a lot of people don't consider themselves seniors till they're 65. Because of work and other things, I don't know whether it's be an adult senior award. I don't know. It's just.
I know when we were talking about Activate Aurora, they wanted to redefine the younger seniors as a junior senior and then a senior, and it got too complicated.
I know.
So I'm just telling you that funny story that it is a sensitive topic, and we're having this conversation here. So thank you.
An old lady the other day said to me, I'm gonna turn 65 now. I guess it's downhill from now. And I said, pardon? I don't even think of it that way.
Second time.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm only just reading this today, so I had not a lot of time to have thought into it earlier, but I do know that it matches everything that the town puts out regarding their programming. They're all called older adult programs, and so there is a consistency factor there that probably is a good thing, but anyway, just a note.
There are no more comments. Let's just call the vote to receive this report and to record the comments that are made.
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? You weren't opposed, Deanna. This was just a delay in here. Okay, very good. Thank you. That carries. Memorandum from Recreation Supervisor and Special Events again, Ellie Ware for 7.2. The communication or the Community Recognition Awards, a nominee composition. May I have a mover and a seconder to put the items on the floor for discussion? Diane, moving. Fiona, you brought this up before. Would you like to second the motion? You. Okay. Mrs. Ware, let's hear what's going on.
So through your chair, I did take all the comments into consideration, and as I was doing the review of the senior award, I did other reviews at the same time, just to see what was out there. It doesn't, even if something similar or different is out there, it doesn't mean we necessarily do it. But there was this type of information that was suggested looking for wasn't captured. But I did go to our town's legal associate with the question, and he provided a lot of research to me and a lot of positioning. And his legal summary is that we can add to the application form things such as what culture you identify with, marital status, religion, identification, a variety of parameters. However, only staff can know that. So when the applications go out to the committee, that all has to be redacted out. So we can use the information as staff for benchmarking or some other. Our legal associate would prefer that there was a direct purpose and objective for the benchmarking versus just putting it out there. And then having said that, if we put this on the application, there is a flawed approach to it because the nominator is the one checking the boxes. So sometimes the nominee doesn't even know they've been nominated. Sometimes the winner doesn't even know they've been nominated, which actually did happen. 3 of the winners last year didn't even know they were nominated till they heard from us. So the nominator is making judgments, the best judgments they can make about that person. So the accuracy is flawed. And then these questions only pertain if it's an individual. So for instance, the Good Neighbor Award could be, we have had single individuals and we've had couples nominated. So who are you answering the question on? One half of the couple or the other half of the couple? The Youth Award is usually a singular person. The community leadership could be a single person, but it could be, for instance, the Rotary Club of Aurora. So that you can't, it doesn't apply. So the instances that it applies to seems to be less than the incidences it could, but more so the danger of the nominator not knowing the nominee as well. So for that reason, we did put in a recommendation that we don't collect that information on it, but to improve the process in which we collectively use to determine winners is we're suggesting a weighted evaluation matrix to be created, tested, and used for the selection of the 2024 winners. So hopefully that process will alleviate some concerns as well, because the process for choosing the winners hasn't changed in years and years and years. So we might as well try something new. Other alike programs a couple had weighted matrices. Most of them do it the way we've been doing it. But because there's an appetite and a willingness to try new things, staff are recommending we move to an evaluation matrix. And that we don't add those boxes to the application, only because it will only apply to a small section of the nominees.
Since this was your recommendation before, I'll ask you to speak to the report and give us your opinions, and then we can open it up to others here. Can't hear you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you for that, Shelley. Maybe my report was captured partially or incorrectly. And if I did not explain it correctly, I'm sorry. One of the things I had said to the point that you brought up, Shelley, is that while we might not directly ask, there can be question alluded to, tell us about your background, tell us about your culture, and those can be optional things. Just like we see the banks ask everywhere you go, they ask, government ask, or do you identify this? We ask all those questions. So those can be optional and see how people feel, or even do a survey. But what the main piece of what I was sharing is that we, as the committee that are reviewing these forms and speaking to the application, we're not diverse. We are 7 of us, 1 person of color, no youth, and most of us are older adults. So I was wondering, how is our team not more diverse when we're serving and reviewing a diverse community? In spite of our kind intention and our good intention, unconscious bias is there. You see it, you hear it, you experience it, and I've witnessed it, some of it right here on our committee already. So that has been my biggest concern. How did we create a committee that was not diverse at all to choose and provide awards to such growing diverse community? And if we looked at last year did not reflect Aurora when we look at where the awards were going. So it's that's where my concerns are. What are we doing and what can we do for next year? I'm not sure how our terms run, but to be intentional about how we build and put together a committee.
Okay, thank you. So not so much on the issue that Shelley was talking about here with respect to gathering information that is related to culture, gender, all the rest of it. But you're talking about the committee makeup as the first place to start with respect to looking at the diversity of people. So Jacqueline, can you make a comment? Because this goes right back to the terms of reference of the committee, in my suggestion. So
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, our committees are appointed by council and we publicly post when we are recruiting. So our terms are currently 2 years. So this term will end at the end of 2024. So there is a paragraph at the end of Shelley's report noting this. So at the end of 2024, we'll be opening recruitment for our next term. At that time, we will be looking at best practices from other municipalities and types of questions that they ask on their recruitment forms that we put out, the applications. Ultimately, it is a decision of council though. So we collect applications from members of the community. It's all voluntary. They can apply or they can not apply. And then we provide all of that information to council to make the appointments to their various advisory boards and committees. So I could go back and tell you how many people applied and how many council chose, but it's all part of the terms of reference, as the chair was stating. So the terms of reference note how many people are part of a committee, and then council appoints that number of people.
So Fiona, again, you still have the floor.
Well, I want this to be a conversation at the table, not a Fiona conversation. So I'm hoping that before I probably can contribute anything else, those at the table can bring their feedback and their thoughts to this item.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I would just note that this is not something that's on the committee terms of reference. The board and committee application for all boards and committees of the town is not something that's under the purview of this committee. So I'm happy to take any comments through the clerk's office, but it isn't particularly something that this committee could provide comments to staff on.
Then how did we provide as a committee to staff whether something was called ageism, but we can't provide talk about the same thing, which is the same thing. The same thing we're talking about how people can be looked at being called seniors, but we can't look. I'm not understanding that.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the difference would be that when we're talking about the older adult or the previously named senior award, that is one of the awards noted in the terms of reference that this committee looks at. So this committee's role is to look at how we receive nominations for all of the awards for our annual awards, how we're putting out the marketing for that, how we choose them, all of that. And then actually recruiting for all of the town's boards and committees is not a role of this specific committee. So any comments I'm happy to take through the clerk's office, but this committee, advisory committee, does not recruit for other boards and committees of the town.
Then why did we put it on the agenda? Or not tell me from last week so I could have done a different channel to have this addressed, because this is important because we're representing a community and we're making decisions on award. And there is I'm concerned about the flawed process, but yeah, that's fine. I will follow up accordingly.
Just with respect, the agenda today was on the collection of this information that is focused on the nomination process for the award as opposed to the committee makeup. I believe, and there is a diversity, equity, inclusion strategy that is being prepared by the town for town employees. And I think what you're suggesting here is that the diversity, equity, and inclusion circumstances also extend to boards and committees, not just in town employees, but I'd like to hear what other people think about that. Am I correct in that?
Correct. Yep.
Jacqueline? Okay, so I mean, any boards or committees that we have, that the town funds, should relate to the strategy and the responsibility that the town has for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're right at the front end of that with respect to the employee involvement, but what we're suggesting here is that if this committee agrees that it should go into a comment that the town should consider the extension of diversity, equity, and inclusion processes in all town committees. I'm suggesting that. I'm not suggesting this committee is going to put that into the comments section. So that's my view on it. So can we get some advice from others for the first time, and then we'll come back to you, Fiona? Others had some comments about this, or we move back to Fiona for a second time. Not for me.
I will just say that I don't have a comment because I don't feel it's the purview of this committee in the terms of reference. So I won't be making a comment. While it may be a good idea, it's not for this committee, in my view.
Mm-hmm. Right, others? Yeah, a second time.
Then to the point that's on the table in terms of nomination process, what can we do? We said we can put out certain things on form based on legality, etc. I have four application process from different municipality that I will send to you. Shirley, you probably can share that to the legal department, that where there intentionality around a growing community and giving people the opportunity to check or not check options. Because when we have a growing community and year after year, we're seeing a reflection of the same people being recognized and awarded, it's easy for us to say, well, it's who apply. Okay. Now, maybe as a committee, if it's in our terms of reference, because the terms of reference has a little bit of gray area. If it's in our terms of reference, are we now looking at how are we advertising? Where are we sending the posts? Where are they getting posted? You know, maybe those are intentionality pieces that we can be talking to. How are we getting the information out there to make sure it's reaching a broad variety of community who may not do the traditional thing to go on a website or know a friend who said, hey, apply for this because I got it last year. What can we do around that? Because the awards that's been happening and we see it throughout the year is not reflecting the very diverse community that Aurora is now. So the question is then, what can we do in our purview to be more intentional or to make some changes that will reflect our community or encourage others to be participating and be nominated?
Yes.
Sure.
My question or statement towards that is how, at the beginning of it, how do we make them aware that this is an award that is available? Next step would be how to get them like on the Aurora website, on the TV. Maybe people are not on computer. They're not very good with it. Maybe on the Aurora station or channel somewhere, an insert in their taxes, a mailing. I know that brings up expenses, but other means of them knowing about it, because not everybody can find it on a website. It can be confusing.
Any comments?
Well, I've got a tremendous amount of friends that are from different nationalities. And we've had many discussions about things like this and how they feel about things. But the people are submitting their name, are having their names submitted by either somebody else or somebody in their family or whoever. We don't know who they are by that submission. And I mean, the Black community itself, or whatever community, the East Indian community or whatever, they could put in 65 names. I mean, you know, if that's what they wanted to do. So I don't know. I think if I look around this table, I know we're older, but we've got a lot of experience on things that we've been part of. I welcome anybody, but I just you know, I just have a problem with it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just from an awareness piece, I was just quickly doing some math. So each year, as soon as the nominations get open, the events team specifically, but we do delegate to other departments. We reach out to 56 different organizations, and we reach out to every past nominator and nominee to make them aware. And in addition to that, 105 people are on our roster, because I'm not convinced that one social media post is going to give us the results we need. It's through the one-on-one dialogue conversation. And even some efforts this year in 2023 might not have resulted in a nomination, but maybe next year when we reach out to them, all right, I remember talking to you, that type of thing. And when I was looking at the roster in terms of who we are reaching out to, it does seem we are hitting some of the mainstream groups, yes, but we're also reaching out to specifically Muslim associations. There's 2 down there. It is diverse in where we're reaching out. Are we getting 100% of the people we could be? No, but I think it's about meaningful contact and meaningful outreach versus quantity, because we can do email blast left, right, and center. And when I mentioned that we delegate some of the recruitment work, so for instance, to the accessible committee with the town, I would have reached out to Greg Perry, asking him to reach out to the committee. We certainly have certain arms that way, just so our reach is a bit further out. But I do think efforts always need to increase in this area, in the outreach. Is the town stronger for it? Because we do actually learn about organizations we didn't even know about, and then they end up in on our radar. So that effort's gonna continue, and it's not gonna be exhausted. And as the community grows, new organizations get formed and we learn about them, then we add them to our targeted list.
Yeah.
So I think we are doing what we can do, but I'll never say we're doing a perfect job. But it's on our radar in terms of how we can get the outreach.
We're trying.
Okay, so that's the marketing side of getting the nominations in, but I want to ask Jacqueline in terms of the terms of reference, and this goes for all committees, and this is maybe where Fiona's heading. What we can do with this committee is that we could put a statement in there that the town of Aurora values diversity, equity, and inclusion. Is that in the terms of reference right now? Because that would be an important thing for us to put in as a comment, that we would like that item to be included in our terms of reference, and others who are reading it may say, yeah, well, that's exactly what we should be doing too, not just here, but on traffic advisory and heritage advisory, et cetera. So
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, it's not currently in the terms of reference, but it is something that, like I said, we'll be reviewing our nomination form for all boards and committees at the end of next year, sorry. And that's something that we can look at having in the application, because in my opinion, I think that's a better place for it, because that goes to all boards and committees when we open up recruitment, instead of having it in each individual terms of reference, because council will receive all the applications, which will have, like, we can include a statement like that. And then everybody who's applying will also see that statement while they apply.
yeah, I'm hoping that will be in the next set of terms of reference when we do this at the end of 2024, when we're establishing the new committee or the amended committee.
So to clarify through you, Mr. Chair, we will not reestablish all of the committees. Council has established these committees for until the end of the 2022 term. The term for members is 2 years. So what staff will do is they will open recruitment for our current committees at the end of 2024 for 2 more years. But as you know, council is always available to us to add a new committee or change.
Right. Okay, so you captured all of that.
Yeah.
Those comments here. Any others that we want posted in there? So I can summarize what we said. We looked at this report. We've agreed that with what Shelley has said vis-a-vis the legality of collecting this information and the value for the use of it. Is it clear on, well, we haven't seen the new nomination form as yet, right?
Through you, Mr.
Do you
Chair.
have a draft of it?
In the September 18th meeting had an edited version. But I'm not sure process through the deputy clerk. I can re-email that out to the committee. I can email that out today. I've given 2 forms, one with track changes, one with not, just to show, because our working group did a lot of semantics and just gave a bit more meat to it. I can resend that out today.
And you're suggesting that within that nomination form, you will have some of these caveats that said what it's going to be used for, what it's not going to be used for, and that information will be redacted, and you've done all that. Do you have sufficient information for this committee to make the changes on the nomination form that you think the committee has suggested?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I don't think so. Because are we adding those questions about what the nominee identifies with or not? Currently, the application, the contact form is just your contact, your name, how to get a hold of you. Currently, it doesn't have those questions. So the question here is, do we add those questions that the nominator would be filling out on behalf of the nominee? And then, of course, we redact it before we can do that. But back to the first question is, do we add it? Currently, right now, that is there's no, there's no identifying questions. We don't even know, your gender. We don't even know the nominee's gender, which only pertains to individual awards, not.
And on that nomination form, that is an optional area, so you may or may not, you choose not to include that, mainly because it may not be relevant because it's a group. Or you may not know as the nominator, or you choose not to put that information in for whatever your purpose is, but it's there for them to fill in. If they choose to do it, it will be redacted when it comes to the committee to talk about who they are, so there's no bias in one way or the other. So that's what we're talking about right now.
Through you, Chair, whether we add that to the form or whether we keep the form as is.
So let's talk about the added to the form so we can give the staff some direction on what we're going to do. Are we in agreement that the information that Shelley has sent to legal, has reported back here, that we would like that to be included in the revised nomination form, and that it is going to be, those are going to be optional fields?
You, Mr. Chair, just some clarification. I thought I heard in Shelley's report earlier that legal did not support adding those because of the various groups that were being nominated, and that wouldn't be consistent and it wouldn't be of a lot of value because one or more person could be nominated within that group. So I'd like some clarification on that. And secondly, I would prefer your suggestion of earlier where you say the town of Aurora values inclusivity, diversity, et cetera, should be on the form instead of the identifying factors, because the identifying factors really are of very little value per Shelley's report or legal's report. So yeah.
So Shelley, can we get the clarification on what was heard versus what was maybe said vis-a-vis the legal ramifications of this?
So through you, Mr. Chair, a couple things. So legal, we can ask the questions. The answers can only be reviewed by staff and redacted. We've all got that. Legals would have a greater comfort if there was an objective behind it. There was something about the Human Rights Commission. There has to be a reason. So if we're going to collect this information, what am I going to do with it?
It's going to be useful.
Right. So legal would prefer that there's a meaningful use in that sense. The other thing is the concern that the nominator could be giving innocent wrong information by choosing those answers.
Right. Fiona, you have a comment?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just to add maybe clarity or to speak to that. Already we have a useful reason why we need it. Recently, the town made a report saying we are being inclusive and we want to create, I'm just going through the town report where they have this diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can't have that without status data collection. And then when you give person the option, it is data collection. We were also a town who did what every other town did, even though we abolished it without any explanation, but we created an anti-Black racism, anti-racism task force. Again, this is critical information to our growing town, to the economic development of our town. So there's millions of reason, and we can talk about that, Shelley. So there's reason and an objective to getting that data, and always people will know it's optional. I don't know if I misunderstood it, but there was a comment said it would be of little value. Little value, no, it's never little value to the people that it mattered to. It mattered to the growing community where we're taking census in this town. Say we have 20% Chinese, we have 2% Black, we have this, we're already collecting census. So it's important that when we see these information, it doesn't go any different from our hiring practice or HR. So it's not little value. It is of great value because we are already getting a taste of the application that are coming, that we're reaching other community, that their parents work 3 jobs, they're not on the internet, they can't even get a time to fill out the application. Like, wow, we made it to reach this community, we made it to reach that community. It's showing the town that we are growing and we're reaching a wide variety of communities, because it's a 73% white. So of course we have to work harder to reach others who might not even grow up in the culture of being recognized. It's not them. People come from different background where even to nominate or be nominated, you're told, don't do that. It makes you look proud, right? So we have to think about that. So I know it's harder for the committee to probably understand where I'm coming from. And I hope you can understand that no matter how hard you try, it's hard for you to think what another person of color or person of different sex might feel to not being represented here. But that's what it would do, Shelley. It would make the community feel that they can apply. People already said, no, I won't apply. This person already going to get it. And we have to get rid of those thinking. That's not just your job, it's the community job. But as the town create this intentionality and put these words out there, it might look like nothing to you, but I'm telling you, when people see the words out there are on a form, I fill out every form you fill out now from government, banks, schools. What do you identify? You check it off, or you said, I do not wish to declare. So it is very simple way to show our community that, yes, you belong in this evaluation. They're talking to you. Here's what the application says. You can identify or not identify, but it is speaking to you, because too often I speak to them and they think it's not them. And people are showing me who is getting awards and what the awardee looks like. And so that change in the form, even if we do a trial run, a MAC run, a survey before we do it, you will be able to get some feedback that can help you to make that decision. So it's not of little value. It would be of really great value if we consider those.
Okay, thank you. Shelley?
Through you, Mr. Chair. First of all, thank you, Fiona. I did learn. You've given me a new lens, but I do want to qualify my statement, especially if an apology is needed. I meant of little value in the sense, because we're redacting it to the committee, because those results wouldn't be shared with the committee, I was referring to it would have little value in choosing the winners. That was the point I was trying to make. So but I now see what you're referring to by having it on the form. You explained it differently, that I get that, but I meant of little value only because I can't share the results with the company. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And I think that message at the front end, how will this be used? What I don't want it to appear is that it's discriminatory in any way. It will not be used and disclosed to the committee for any purposes regarding selection. It's going to be used, as Fiona's suggesting, is saying how many people of color, how many people from diverse areas are being nominated, because that seems to be an issue with us. We're not getting the nominations. And if we're getting 70% of the nominations from the white community and 2% from Black and 20 from Asian, then we're being representative of the population. If they're skewed one way or the other, and we have no way of knowing until we gather the data. So I think it's for nomination research purposes, and the legal will probably have to vet that in terms of what the questions, what the purpose of the information gathering is. And it's not, maybe I'm predisposing you to something, but it is not for selection purposes, correct? Does anybody? Yeah, okay, so we're not selecting based upon race, creed, color, sexuality, and gender orientation, et cetera. It's just for gathering nomination statistics.
Shouldn't be doing that at all.
Sure. I just don't want it to appear when people see it that, oh yeah, they're gathering this information for the wrong reasons. We have to be very clear about the right reasons, right? Okay, thank you, Fiona. That's good. You helped us with that lens as well. Other comments about this? Shelley, are you relatively clear about how this is gonna come back to us again?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will need help from the deputy clerk for timelines, but I will work on this right away. I will have to send it to legal. I do have to allow them some time to look at the changes. And then through you, Mr. Chair, through to the deputy clerk, once the changes are made and approved by legal,
Mhm.
and then I can email it out to the committee, and if we're fine on email, we're done.
So through you, Mr. Chair, an email would just sort of be an FYI. If you're looking for comments, oh, we just lost Fiona. If we're looking for comments, then we would have to do it through a meeting because the committee has to make comments as a whole. We can't get comments from individual members. So just to clarify through you, Mr. Chair, are we comfortable with what we're adding and you're going to circulate for information, or are you circulating for confirmation?
For me, I think it would be good to have it in draft form, circulated to the committee, like a report that will come back for a future meeting, where we discuss the application form and approve the application form, and then we've covered all of that off. Am I correct in
Yep.
that? Committee, are you all fine with that?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, February the 14th. Is that too late to you?
When do we need this out?
Through you, Mr. Chair. It'd be nice for December, but that's a nicety. A hard yes is early January. Because we have then 2.5 months for solicitation, like, and some groups meet once a month, like, and it's getting on that cycle.
So shall we, with the permission of the committee or the approval of the committee and through our deputy clerk, can we reschedule the February meeting so that it's earlier on in January? And one of the special important parts of this is just to review and approve the nomination form.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, I would just check with Shelley if the February meeting was needed for another opportunity for discussion, or if we're rescheduling February, just to clarify that
Do you have a
point.
schedule of what the committee's jobs are to get done by such and such a time?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the answer is maybe. So, but I don't know if this requires a committee meeting or a working group meeting. One of the factors for the February meeting was to review the process of the weighted matrix, what this would look like in case. I don't want to present something brand new to the committee. So here's selection day, here's the tool, run with it in case there's flaws or ways to improve it. So February was more so to look at the process of how we're going to choose, so we make changes. And then I was also going to bring in a bunch of variety of different awards because we've had the same award for a few years. So I wanted to do a show and tell, and the committee, can choose. That was February's intention.
All right, well, let me ask the committee then, if this draft nomination form is sent to us as an FYI, and that we're allowed and encouraged to provide feedback at that time, whether this is right or can you consider this, we can refine that form so we spend less time on our next meeting on the form, because everybody has had a chance to look at it and have vetted it. It should be pretty simple to approve that form at that next meeting so that we're not jamming you up on the other side. Is the committee prepared to receive that nomination form draft from Shelley in how many days, weeks do you think that could come up? You guys collaborate on this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, through to the deputy clerk. Like I can have it to legal by this Friday, but I have to give legal a couple days, like.
No, I'm just wondering how long what your schedule is, and if you couldn't get to it till January, then that's a problem. But if it's gonna be done in a matter of a couple of weeks and it's in our inboxes for reply and comments, then if the committee is prepared to put that time away from this committee into reviewing it and commenting, then I think we'll shorten up the discussion time at the next meeting, that's all.
Are you suggesting that we could do it all by email or add in a meeting in December? because the February meeting's too late.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Absolutely.
suggesting?
I'm suggesting, I listened to Jacqueline, and you cannot have an electronic vote for this. It must be a
Right.
meeting, so we have to come together. It could be a special purpose meeting. And we could put a half an hour or time aside to be able to deal with this one item only, so that it's cleaned up and it's ready to go for Shelley in our next meeting.
Yep.
Is that okay by you? Fiona, I can't see you. You were bigger before, now you're smaller up in the
I can do
corner.
that.
Is that, you're available to do that as well? Okay, good. Okay.
Sound.
I don't know what happened. The thing cuts out, so I'm not sure what you see, but I still see my gorgeous self looking back at me here. So yeah.
So our action item here is that there's going to be a draft of a new nomination form that includes these comments that comes to the committee. The committee is going to turn that around in a timely manner. And Shelley, if you want to put a date time on that we have to look at it and provide comments, then we'll have a special purpose meeting.
Can I provide one more piece? So through you, Mr. Chair, the second half of that we can do is Shelley can send it out with a deadline for comments. If we receive no comments, there's no need for that extra meeting.
Perfect.
So that could also be the second caveat, where if we do receive comments, we will have
Substantive comments,
Correct.
you know, typos and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. We don't
typos
care
and
about.
formatting, we're not, yeah,
But if it ticks off all the boxes.
correct. If
then-
everybody's in agreement that this is what we discussed at today's meeting, then I don't see the need for another meeting because we aren't actually changing anything.
Yeah, that's great.
Have my instructions.
Okay. So folks, when you get it, the idea here,
No comment.
deal with it.
No,
Deal with it, comment on it. If you no comment, then it's approval. That's clear, everybody? Any other comments before we,
So since I got cut off before, can you clarify for me, please, Mr. Chair, what are we waiting to get and and hoping to get no comments on?
Shelley?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we staff are gonna revise the application form. Gonna add in optional questions as suggested. That application form with the older adult change, all that, as though it's a final form, that's what's gonna be emailed to the committee members for review and comment on that. And then if there's no substantive changes, that's moving forward, other than typos and semantics and that, then it moves forward. And if there's there's more changes than what's presented to you, then we have a special meeting focused just on that.
Understood.
Let me call the vote on that. This is to receive the report and also provide the comments in the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? No opposed? That carries. Thank you. Shelley, thanks so much for your diligence on this, and Jacqueline for your advice on this. It's very helpful. These things are very important to get right. You get them right at the front end, then everything goes smoothly after. So our time is well spent here doing that. Anybody else have any informational items that they would like to bring forward at this time? Having to do with any of this? Seeing none. Anybody have any new business, something you'd like to put on the docket for as a pending item? None? Can we get a motion to adjourn? Diane, seconded by? Thank you. Finished. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time.
I'm glad I was
An hour.
here.